Democrat-run city seeing a violent summer crime wave. Viewer warning, the video is tough to look at. A scooter-riding maniac going on a deadly rampage here in New York, randomly shooting at people from his moped. He wounded 3 and took the life of an 87-year-old father of 6 who was heading out to pray. The crazed gunman smirking after being arrested. Police sources telling NBC that the man appears to have mental issues. Okay. And there's more devastation. A former Afghan interpreter who risked his life for American troops in a war zone was shot and killed in Washington, D.C., while he was picking up an extra shift as a Lyft driver. He leaves behind a wife and 4 kids. Police are still looking for suspects who were caught fleeing in this chilling surveillance footage. Watch.
He was reaching, bro.
I'm sure he was not reaching. Judge Jeanine, that's just the saddest story of all time.
All of these stories are sad. We just don't know the stories. If you peel them all back, there's a story of someone who didn't deserve it, didn't ask for it, and all of a sudden they're dead and their families' lives are thrown into turmoil until the day they die. And that's the problem. You know, there's nothing new that I can say here. There's nothing new. If there are no consequences, behavior will not change. And, you know, the quality of people's lives is meaningless now. If someone dies, it's like it's no big deal. And it's these Dems who believe in this elusive, undefinable social justice. I don't think they even know what they're going for. And this will lead to the destruction of our society, because the more people are afraid, the more they're not going to go outside, their kids aren't going to go outside, and it is the loss of our freedom. It leads to losing everything. I mean, it's a decline of a civilization, and it's stoppable. It's just stoppable. And all this stuff about bail is unconstitutional. These people are idiots. It's in the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. It was written in. It's not as though the Founding Fathers didn't say, you know what, bail isn't appropriate. They said bail is appropriate under certain situations, or all situations, depending upon whether or not it's undue.
How about sources saying that they believe the moped shooter had mental issues, Harold?
Probably did. I agree with the judge on this. We've talked about this a lot. We need more police officers on the street. We need to pay police officers more. We need longer punishments for people who commit crimes. We also need to have background checks for guns. We need to track ghost guns, and we need to probably build more jails, because we find ourselves in a position that if we don't encash this bill, which I'm an advocate for and a proponent for and have said over and over again, we're going to continue to have some of the outcomes that the judge mentions. But we seem to have a body politic that defies some of the polling and some of the common sense things. 90% of Americans believe we should do something about guns. And the body politic, the power around 10, 20% of the thinking here says that we just won't. I would love a compromise. More jails, more cops, less guns. If I were in Congress, if I were in the Senate, as a Democrat, I'd be trying to find Republicans that wanted to do this from the states where you may have these kind of awful crime rates, these kind of awful stories and outcomes. This is what Congress and this is what state legislatures should be doing.
It feels like we've been covering stories like this every single day for the last couple of years.
For a few years leading up to it, and we knew this because of a lot of the prosecutors that got hired and went all across the country. So just another point on the Afghan who came to America. So first of all, he was 10 years old when he raised his hand at our base in Afghanistan and said, I'd like to help. He taught himself English. He worked for us for 8 years. I believe it was 8 years. And he saved the lives of several of our people. And then we break our promise. We can't get him here. But they finally get him out. They get him to Abu Dhabi, where his wife has a baby in a refugee camp. They get here. Guess where they went? Went to Philadelphia. Yep. He's working in Philadelphia, and he's like, wait, this place is too unsafe. Let me move my family to a place that might be better. He chose Washington, D.C. And unfortunately, that's because you have the same type of criminal punishment, which is lax, you ended up with this situation. You know that those young boys that are running, that they've probably been picked up before, but they've probably not had any consequences. So that's how you get fewer guns on the street, and that's how you get fewer crimes, as you have more consequences. But every time I think about these senseless killings, especially in Washington, D.C., think about how President Biden saved so many Democrats. 173 House Democrats voted to support D.C.'s crime bill, where they wanted to water it down, and they thought Biden had his back. And remember, the Democrats were so mad because Biden was like, well, maybe we shouldn't go that far. They should be thanking him today for saving them from that. Greg
Gutfeld.
Well, you know, the Afghan guy obviously is unlucky. He came at a time when America is at its, I think it's at its worst. My question is, how long does this last? Because we keep saying this, we keep talking about this, and it seems to not get any better. So the scooter shooter was known around the neighborhood as being a troublemaker, which meant that his actions, you know, harmed the quality of public life already, and yet that wasn't stopped. Right? The police weren't arresting him. He was riding on sidewalks. This is what people do now in New York City. So this is a behavior that harms the quality of life that, because there are no consequences, expands into more dangerous and high-risk behavior. So now he's shooting people from a bike. The crimes are more flagrant because of the reductions in punishment, which affects human behavior. We're rewiring the brain. This is why I'm trying to figure out if this is long-term or not. We're rewiring the brain not to expect consequences. So we're creating kind of amoral individuals, like the guy on the bike. Like, that person didn't exist before. That's somebody that thinks that I've gotten away with this, I've gotten away with this, I've gotten this. My brain is telling me that there are no consequences for the decisions that I make, so the lawlessness continues. It's like the broken windows theory, but it's way worse because it's about changing your brain. And that's what scares me, is I feel like I'm seeing different people out there. These are not normal criminals. These are completely amoral.
Brazen.
I would say regressive. We're literally turning back the clock.
This is like people riding around on horses with revolvers.
Yeah.
All right.
Crazy.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.